a big one. There we go.
Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
Welcome to Believe in Better with Brian, and I'm your host here, Brian Levine, on GCD Network, gcdnetwork.com. We are here to give you information and to espouse the great things that America brings us. We love it here in America, and when it can be fixed or adjusted, it is. That's our Constitution, the wisdom of our founding fathers, and the people here, the greatest place, the greatest country on earth. And we are here with you to tell you what's right with America. And sometimes some things would have to be changed, but that's the great thing. We can if we feel like it. We the people. So what we will have here today for you, a lot of good things, as always. We'll start with our mug of the week in a moment. We're going to talk to you about words and the dictionary. Sounds boring, but don't worry, it'll be interesting. And Donald Trump on the verge of being sentenced. We'll tell you what's happening there and give you a synopsis on that case. It was called the hush money case, but it really wasn't. And whether other people would have been brought to trial, I'll give you the real scoop on that, because I do with money and taxes and things, and I'm a CPA, so I know the inside scoop. Tell you about what's happening in California with all their disaster there. And because things always seem doom and gloom, and we said the good things about America, we will tell you the good things in the past year. What's right with America? Our good year in review. And some politics around the world, and I can do politics too. I was the mayor of a community for a few terms. I'm going to tell you about a country whose population, who's big in size, but whose population is less than the town in which I used to be mayor. I was also a county commissioner, director. Oh, where has the Pillow Man gone? We're going to touch on that here too, because people have been asking. And in our study of morons, we're going to have another one for you. I don't think you'll argue with me when I tell you what's going on there. And then we will wrap up, give you some. Today was the state funeral for former President Jimmy Carter. Give you some quick overviews on that. So first, let's come to our mug of the meeting. It's a very shiny mug because I washed it. Okay, here it is. Mug of the meeting, San Francisco. I really meant Los Angeles, but every mug you see is from my personal collection. So I got a mug in San Francisco, but I never got one in LA. So it's my California connection. Cheers, skol, l'chaim, nastrovia, to a happy new year. So this is our mug. And I'm going to talk about the California wildfires in a moment and the synopsis of it. It's now still spreading across Santa Monica Mountains. And it's, as of earlier today, exceeded 17,000 acres. We do some, because I'm a certified public accountant, I'll do quick math here. If I'm doing this right, I think that's like 26 square miles. Oh my goodness. Santa Ana winds have died down a little bit, but we the nation are not out of danger yet, and certainly those Santa Monica and surrounding areas. So best to you. We'll touch on that in a little bit soon. So let's go to the dictionary. Every year we have a word of the year from the dictionary. So think about what's the new word that was used a lot this past year. So according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, Their word of the year is polarization. No, not the Arctic. We're not talking about that. But generally the political polarization. And it is, definition, quote, division into two sharply distinct opposites, especially a state in which opinions, beliefs, or interests for a group or society no longer range along a continuum, but become concentrated on opposing extremes. In other words, it's not like left to right, conservative to liberal. It's like two sides and not a happy middle. And if you've watched Believe in Better, pull up our archives, I've railed against the political stagflation and lack of cooperation for some time now. When I was mayor, it was about 3-1 Democratic versus Republican, and I ran on the Republican ticket, but I was elected for 3 terms. I kept my values. I did what I think was right. Beautifully on the budget. That's either my philosophy or my CPA hat or my finance hat. I think it's a combination of all of them. That we had one of the best budgets in the state. I'm in New Jersey and left with one of the, if not the highest surplus and balanced budget in the state, because you do what you think is right and you work with the other side when you can come up with a meeting place in the middle. So other words, the Merriam-Webster dictionary gives other words of the year. One was democracy, as they point out, by the way. You know, the word democracy is not in the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. By the way, other words, pander, weird, cognitive. The thing is, people were questioning on political candidates running for high office. Demure, totality, elision. Elision, that's a boat crashing into a stationary object, as in Baltimore. The Oxford University Press, their word of the year is brain rot. Yes, sometimes the word of the year can be actually 2 words. And the Collins Dictionary was, their word of the year is brat, as in brat summer. So there are your words for 2024. Okay, so Donald Trump, as of this day, this is Thursday, January 9th, as of tomorrow, January 10th, Justice Juan Merchan in New York said he would not sentence the president-elect to incarceration. He would impose, quote, a sentence of unconditional discharge. What the hell does that mean? It means no prison time, probation, or fines. So what happened in this trial anyway? That's what people quote. Hey, he's been convicted of being a felon 34 times. But what's this about? It's, on a lot of trials, there's a lot of charges. So it stems from one thing, though technically it was 34 because they break it out into everything like that. And look, you can like Donald Trump, you can dislike him, whatever your political opinion is, obviously is fine. But like him, dislike him, being neutral, I think this should not have really gone to trial. For other people, I agree, it really wouldn't have gone to trial. So it's called the hush money case, but it isn't really. It's not about paying Stormy Daniels, porn star, for not talking. It's sexy, that's figuratively and literally, to call it the hush money case of a porn star, but it really wasn't. Donald Trump, and they thought in 2016, if she came out that they had an affair, it would hurt his 2016 election. So he paid reimbursement to his then attorney, Michael Cohen, Donald Trump did, to pay Stormy Daniels, and this is recorded in their ledger as legal fees. Okay, so paying to settle a legal settlement in a business is not illegal. It's commonplace It happens all the time. It was in the context of a political campaign. Political campaigns can certainly pay legal fees. So if this were a normal business transaction and it were classified wrongly on the books, so be it. You fix it and it would come from the same thing. Can a campaign settle a lawsuit? Yeah, they can too. So he paid his lawyer, who paid her. They called it legal fees. If it were a business, no one would care. It'd be the same thing. The taxes would be the same. Maybe he didn't want it out there that this is what was going on. But it wasn't, frankly, it wasn't that big a deal. It's not like illegal funds were going to or from the Russians or anything like that. So census is coming up. Judge said he's not going to really impose a sentence. It's still available for appeal, but to me it was kind of picked a little tougher. Just like a number of things on Hunter Biden, they were shuffled under the rug. It was a little bit harsher because of his high profile. Okay, so what's happening with the California wildfires? What's the status? So far, there have been over 1,000 structures destroyed. Firefighters have been injured. And here's a sad part. When I was mayor, there's a fire in town, and one of our firefighters, 21-year-old Kevin Apuzzo, is a member of what we have 10 firehouses in town. There's the East Franklin Township Volunteer Fire Company. He was leading 4 firefighters into a burning building, someone's home, and he died there. The floor gave way, and that is so sad. He was 21, but any age. We were all heartbroken. There's a big state funeral. We certainly had ceremonies in town with things named was mayor. I preside over naming a street after Kevin Apuzzo. There's a memorial to him in front of the firehouse, which people can see to this day. That was in April of 2006. So 18 years later, almost 19, we still honor him and we still remember. And we have the memorial for him. So in California, the wildfires, there's many significant injuries of people. Use of firefighters has maxed out. So California and the area have requested help from other firefighters in California, but also neighboring states, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, who of course are gladly sending the help. There's been no containment of the fire yet. Hopefully that happens. Other things going on. Santa Monica has a curfew. You can't be out too late. The city of LA, state of California, and the US government have all declared states of emergency. It's amazing. There's a fire, gusts of wind, which have reached hurricane force. That is amazing. Some people, they were told, or they just abandoned their vehicles. They couldn't get out, and they bulldozed them out of the way so the emergency vehicles could get there. And many people are even reporting that they've left, even though they weren't in direct danger of fire, they could see the flames, and it was so smoke-filled. That was just unhealthy for infants, some of the elderly, people with compromised immune systems. So some people just left, and it's amazing. Massive people, tens, hundreds of thousands. They don't have family somewhere. Where do they go? What do they do? The businesses that are going to go bankrupt, sadly, the people who will lose their jobs, and the people who are injured. All a sad reality. So some bad news. Again, the year in review for 2024. Last time I gave a recap. Let's see, what's the good news that happened? And there were a few good things. We had a nice election. Well, I mean, if you like the results or you didn't, it's still good to have an election. As far as that goes, a lot of people in Congress, some Republicans, I think it's led by Senator Ted Cruz of Texas, are suggesting term limits for members of Congress. And this is a good idea. Let me say it again. This is a good idea. People get in, you do what you have to do, you impose your programs, you fight for your programs and what you want, and then you get out and make room for the next guy. What often people do is it's so terribly gerrymandered in the darn districts. It's a safe Democratic district, a safe Republican district. And one thing I say Democrats and Republicans agree on is make more safe Democratic and Republican districts so each one can have safe districts and they don't really have to fight for the seat. So if it's a safe Democratic district and Democrats in there, or safe Republican districts, Republicans in there, it's very light competition, or it's difficult for the other side to make headway during a general election. And they just keeping their seat time after time after time, getting their nice cushy salary and benefits, then kiss the ring and the ass of their party leaders and don't have to do anything else much. They just sit there and vote. Whereas if there was turnover, people had to give up their seats for term limits, there'd be new names. Maybe there would be more fighting for the districts. And someone else would get a turn to put his or her ideas in there. That's another thing. Term limits, but stop with the damn gerrymandering to make everything so safe for the people in office. Let there be competition. Let there be a competition of ideas. I practice this. Again, I ran for mayor in my town, which is about 3-1, the opposite party of mine. And when I was a county commissioner, we used to call it freeholder in New Jersey, I was out registered by the other party and won a couple of those terms. And even served a year as back then we called freeholder director, which is basically like mayor for a county. So what other good news happened in the year? Well, sickle cell gene therapy has advanced. That is great news. Relatively speaking, college tuition has gone down. I find it a little hard to believe, but statistics say when you adjust for inflation, it has a little bit, only slightly, and relatively. It's way too little, but at least it's going in the right direction. And many institutions, especially Ivy League with large endowments, have made it, and I hope this works in practice, tuition free, reduced tuition for those who have need. But you still have like government grants, stupid government grants, paying big money to places like Harvard, who has a $50 billion endowment. So that means the tax dollars of you and me and the plumber and the electrician and the engineer and the worker and the laborer go into the federal government, and then they give that money to somewhere like Harvard to pay for tuition. Give me a break. Come on. Institutions, you've got more money than you really know what to do with that you will ever spend. They end up buying up real estate so they can make more money. Give people a break. And they call them nonprofits. They should be starting to pay taxes on what they bring in, because it's a disgrace and it's disgusting. So what else is the good news for the year? Women's sports got to push up to the thanks of people like Caitlin Clark, basketball sensation, rookie of the year, and Simone Biles has been in the news for a while, but came back this year, especially, and this is good for Simone, in the area of advancement of mental health, especially as it relates to sports. She deserves our kudos. Thank you, Simone. Unbelievably, renewing a passport has gone online and has become a little bit easier. Amazing. Thank you for that. And opioid deaths have gone down after the damn pharmaceutical companies pushed the opioids on people. So what happened? They paid a big fine and states got it, and who knows what they did with it. It's like I've been saying, they pushed it. People died from opioid overdose, and they knew it, and there's no damn consequences to the pharmaceutical industry. Look, they're great. They do the research. 99% of what they research probably doesn't come to market. They have a blockbuster drug, but damn it, They were pushing the opioids, and people don't give them a real punishment for what they do. It's another thing of that genre. Just like and I've spoken about this over the last several weeks, the health insurance industry came to light when Luigi Mangione allegedly shot Brian Thompson of United Healthcare, and people are not as upset as some want them to be. But forgetting that part, the insurance companies, they turn people down and they get sick and they die and there's no consequences. Those people in the executives in the healthcare industry, let's try this again because I can't stand to look at them. Those people in the healthcare industry, the executives, they should be held accountable for practicing medicine without a license. They should be able to be sued by the people because you can sue your doctor, but you can't sue them. Damn it, what's the matter with them? And hold them criminally liable, just like we should have done in the debacle for home ownership in 2008, where the executives, oh boy, they got pushed out of their company with a golden parachute of tens of millions of dollars. They should have been criminally indicted. But you know what? We let them go because we're too weak and they give too much money to causes like political campaigns. Damn it. When is there going to be justice? The little guy is demanding it. You wonder why Donald Trump won? It's because the working guy is fed up with nonsense and working women. And you know what? If you don't like Donald Trump's personality or some things he stands for, he won because Donald Trump tapped into the working class and it resonated. And damn it, that's got to be done more and more. At least tapping in and letting them know what's happening. Another good point. Oil refinery toxic emissions are down in 2024. Hopefully that's a trend that continues. So politics, let's see what's happening. I foreshadowed you earlier, a country whose population is less than the municipality of which I was mayor. What are we talking about? We're talking about Greenland. Donald Trump is saying he would like to buy it, take it. It's a protectorate of Denmark, pseudo-autonomous. In my mind, it's kind of like Puerto Rico in the United States. It's not a state, it's a territory, like Guam, American Virgin Islands. It's not quite totally owned, not quite a state, but a territory. And that's as I see Greenland. Okay, so Denmark is not going to give Greenland to the U.S. or sell it. Donald Trump Jr. made a personal trip there to Greenland. He didn't get much of a reception. People came around to see, but it was a personal trip. It wasn't official. And Greenland, so is this a far-fetched idea? It may not be as far-fetched as you think. Donald Trump might be smarter than people realize sometimes. Greenland is pushing for, or they have been pushing for independence from Denmark. Their prime minister outlined that in his New Year's Day address, that they just may want to be independent. A time might be right for someone like the United States to say, hey, how would you like to join us? Now, they may not want to, but the timing might be right for that. So what about Greenland? They are the world's biggest island. Things like Australia are considered a continent, but Greenland is the world's biggest island. How big? It's about 22% the size of the United States. So that's very big. Almost a quarter size of the United States is this one island. That is very big. 80% of it is covered by an ice sheet. Here's the ironic part. Greenland is mostly covered with ice, and Iceland is mostly covered with green. Oh well, who's to say? So Greenland is large, 80% ice. So why would the United States say, I want this? Well, it's very north, has access to the Arctic. There's a lot of natural resources in those northern territories. So having Greenland or access to places up there is very beneficial. There are abundant resources, gold, silver, copper, uranium. So it is rich in those things. And it's not the first time. This isn't like unique. U.S. has considered acquiring Greenland in the past. Most recently in 2019, when Donald Trump brought up the idea. But I think Harry Truman floated it, and back in the 1800s. And it's interesting when you think about it. Greenland's capital, Nuuk, this doesn't have to matter. Nuuk, it's closer to New York than to the Danish capital, Copenhagen. Just a fun fact. So when I said population, the town, which I was mayor now, has approaching 70,000. Greenland population is about 57,000. So it's quarter size of the US, 57,000. They're home to the company Novo Nordisk. They're the makers of Wegovy, blockbuster drug. And I believe Novo Nordisk may be the most valuable in terms of stock in all of Europe, and that's in Greenland. What a great thing for those people. And trying to drive the point home, the Danish monarch, the king, changed the royal coat of arms. There's a little section referring to Denmark. He increased that on the coat of arms to basically say, this is mine, keep your hands off. So we'll see how that progresses. If if Greenland becomes independent and they want a closer affiliation with the US, it's conceivable. We certainly shouldn't take it by force. We shouldn't push it too much, but if they want it, the US should be game. So, as I was saying, so where is Pillow Man Mike Lindell? To me, he was noticeably absent during the 2024 campaign when he was so big pro Donald Trump 2020 and through the years, and the election was stolen, he would say. So either they didn't want him around or he's just been too busy fighting his own self-inflicted wounds. He's in a long-run litigation over in a court battle, $5 million he owes an engineer, Robert Zeidman, who was actually a Trump supporter. So Mike Lindell said, claimed there was definitive proof of foreign interference in the 2020 election. And it's been constantly proven it wasn't, but he said, foreign interference in the election, here's my proof. If anyone can disprove it, prove me wrong, I will give them $5 million. So Robert Zeidman, again, who supported Trump, said, I'll give it a try. And through an arbitration, he was ruled that he did. He proved Mike wrong. That was the ruling. So he says, give me my $5 million. And courts have agreed with him. And so Mike Lindell is going through what you do in litigation, showing his assets to show if he can give it. Kind of like Rudy Giuliani in his big fight to preserve his finances, which are in a shambles. Okay, so I gave you a moron warning earlier, and it's none other than North Korea. Of course, who else would it be? Kim Jong-un in particular. That's the second story I'm going to hit. The first one is North Korea says, we have the world's strongest missile. Okay, here it goes. I call BS. No, here it goes. They might have the world's largest missile. Maybe it is. About 3 times as big as one in the US. But if it's a big missile, it makes an easier target. And the launching pad has to be bigger. Makes an easier target. So it's not the strongest. That's by far the US, and even Russia have that. And China too. It may be big. They can deliver missiles to South Korea right next door, but they can't deliver it to the US, not yet. That's why we have to keep them contained. You never know, because they're like the worst country least democracy, tighter, what they restrict people on than anyone. Right next to a great democracy, South Korea kind of shows same culture, same people, and split based on the dictatorship, iron fist. So maybe the bigger story, North Carolina has banned something treasonous from America as of this week. And you know what it is? It's treasonous. It's treasonous food. And what is the treasonous food North Korea has banned? The hot dog. Further showing that Kim Jong-un, yes, he is a moron. And by extension, North Korea, although the people, I won't say that. So cooking or selling could sentence you to the labor camps. Because it's treasonous American food and culture. Sushi has already been banned in the country. So Nathan's and their hot dog eating contest. I have not seen where they're shedding any tears that you can't eat hot dogs in North Korea anymore. Can you imagine the stupidity, treasonous food? Oh my goodness. And people have to live under there. And these days, it gets harder to overthrow a strong military like that and an imbecile. So on politics, January 9th, Jimmy Carter's funeral. He passed away at 100 years old, the longest living president in history. Number 2, I think, was George Herbert Walker Bush, the 41st president at 94, who passed away a few years ago. So there were many speakers at the funeral. The Reverend Andrew Young honored him for his commitment to minorities. Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood, country music artists, they sang the hit from the Beatles, Imagine. It was John Lennon, an acoustic version. This song was said to be President Carter's favorite song, and they performed it there. President Biden, in his eulogy, spoke about Jimmy Carter's strength of character, quote unquote, which was true. In the audience, Donald Trump and his former Vice President Mike Pence shook hands. I'm glad to see that, and cordial after they greeted each other. And Walter Mondale, who was the Vice President to Jimmy Carter, he unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And they agreed, Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale, to write eulogies for each other's funeral. So Walter Mondale had one written, and it was read by his son, Ted Mondale. Very touching. And, I said it wrong. I think it was Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford. Sorry, wrong thing. They agreed that Gerald Ford is the sitting president that Jimmy Carter won against to become president in 1976. And they agreed to deliver eulogies at each other's funeral. And Stephen Ford, Gerald Ford's son, one of his sons, delivered that eulogy. And he said his father, Gerald Ford, was thrilled to agree. Remember the word I said before from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, polarized in politics? This is the antithesis of polarization. For all the polarization and fighting now, I say, give me a break. Try it again. For all the polarization and fighting now, I say, give me a break. Back then, Jimmy Carter defeated in the election Gerald Ford. Both gentlemen, I don't care if you didn't like their politics, they did some things good and very good, and they did things bad, and I think they both wanted best for the country, and some of their philosophies were different, but they were gentlemen, and they knew when to agree, and that it wasn't personal, and that you could do things like write a eulogy for each other's funeral and stick with it and be kind and gentlemanly and cordial, and that's the America I want to see again. That's the America I love. I love this one too, but those are some outstanding points we could still have. So I might give you more on Jimmy Carter next time. And I want to thank GCD Network, gcdnetwork.com, for doing this for us. And my producers, Sam, Giancarlo, and Paulie. And thoughts and prayers for Paulie. He had a little bit of an accident, not well. This could put him super out of commission for a while. So I look forward to the days of seeing him come back. So, well, thank you for tuning in to Believe in Better with Brian. Here with me, Brian Levine, CPA, former mayor, former councilman, county commissioner director, and podcaster to give you the truth and the real story right here. No spins, just the facts. And sometimes a spin, but we'll tell you when that's the case. And always remember, the philosophy is integrity and the feeling is empathy. And we will see you back here next time. Thank you so much.